What's up? What's up? Today I have an assorted and pretty random collection of manga doujinshi that I want to go through today. So these are all of my recent reads. So I've got 5 different reads here. So you might recognize them, you might not. One of them is in English. So let's just get into it. Let's start off with the one that I had the most fun reading. Not that I didn't have fun with the others, but this one was the craziest for sure. This is Yu, the Strongest Man on the Face of the Planet by Kaze Shinobu. So this one is a very, very fun read. If you like action manga and just crazy shenanigans when it comes to like fighting and just like the world being destroyed, that sort of thing, then you should read this. So Sean over at Japan Book Hunter has done a very, very in-depth video on Kaze Shinobu. So if you want information about the mangaka and all of the other works that he's done, go ahead and pop over there because I personally don't know too much about Kaze Shinobu. So all that information is in that video. I will link it in the description as well. But to just give you the premise, Ryu, he pretty much has this mask put on him by his master because he is too strong and his powers need to be sealed. So he's really strong for some reason, and he's sort of living in a like a basement to hide himself because what had happened is was that this is Ryu over here. When he was fighting in a competition, he accidentally, I don't know if it was accidentally, but like he had kicked the the opponent, it's fallen down. But a bit after, you notice there's a hole in his head, and a little fly bumps into him, and he just explodes. So that's how strong Ryu is, and the fiance of that dead man is like a famous celebrity, like an actor. This will become important later on. But there's now this machine in the basement. This is Ryu's sister, that his father apparently created to sort of stop Ryu's power from going too much out of hand. And then this is the fiance coming back with Ryu's master because they need to stop him. They are looking to kill uh, him because he's just too strong. He shouldn't exist. That sort of thing. And the paneling is insane in this manga. Like he cited influences from artists like Philippe Joulet, the French artist, comic maker, illustrator. But it gets super violent. The fights are very creative. The artwork and all the landscapes are also insane. Like you get this really cool panel of just the mask crying and the sister's face all over the screen, all over the page. And it's like, how crazy does this get? Well, it gets even crazier because, this is in the the scale of the story and just looking at it compared to everything else relatively, this is not too bad right now with how crazy things get. So they continue to fight and fight and fight. So I would 100% recommend just picking this up, even if you don't know Japanese, because again, the paneling, the art, and you can pretty much just understand it all if if you looked at a um, explanation of this and just went to read it yourself, you would pretty much understand most of it because it is a lot of fighting, a lot of people getting killed, that sort of thing, and just amazing paneling all around. So I have shown glimpses of this book in a previous manga haul quite a while ago. There are multiple editions of this book. There's like a blue version. I think it's a newer version. Um, but let's just take a look at that background. So what had happened was that they broke. the machine, and now they're being transported into this other dimension sort of thing. So Ryu is still, trying to find the master to beat. And out of nowhere, this statue comes up in front of the master, and it gives him a mission. That mission is to, of course, kill Ryu. Ryu is... where is he right now? I'm not sure what's happening, but yeah, so we're still with the master. He gets telekinetic powers out of nowhere. Ryu is still nowhere to be found. Now we come back to him, he's running away, and you just get these amazing panels of the master sort of channeling his powers given to him by that giant statue, the Buddha statue. And even cooler, all of these statues from Earth, they start flying towards the master. So these are just some amazing panels, amazing pages with pure chaos like this. So all of the statues are now heading towards the master. And here he is with his big ass head. All his telekinetic powers strengthening, that sort of thing. Yeah, the second half of this book gets insane. Because, yeah, it actually does get more insane than this. So his body is strengthened. But what it turns out to be is that all of these statues, they had the body parts of this mysterious man that appears. So it's now assembled, and if you want to guess who it is, just from that symbol there, it's Jesus. So Jesus is resurrected from all of these Buddha statues having his like body parts in them, and there he is. Gives me like Poseidon vibes with the trident, but yeah, that's Jesus, straight up Jesus Christ. And even crazier is Jesus tells us that he was killed by Ryu in the past, but I believe it was like a past, like a Ryu right now is reincarnated, I think. I don't know, something like that. But he was killed by him in the past, so now he's back, wants to take his revenge and kill him. But not alone. He's not going to do this alone because for some reason Jesus himself can't one-on-one Ryu. So if we skip forward a little bit, he recruits two people. You've got Bruce Lee on the left and Miyamoto Musashi on the right. So you've got a trio of just the most random people together: Jesus, Bruce Lee, and Miyamoto Musashi. And they now go on a quest to fight Ryu and to kill him. And I'll just skip over to when they actually do that. So there they are. And they go ahead and fight him. It's such a crazy sequence. Just like seeing these characters together, and they do get beat very easily, actually. Just disappear. And so it becomes the battle between Jesus and Ryu. But then what happens is that it turns out Jesus is not Jesus, apparently, because he morphs into this demon lady. And this demon lady uses this ability where she just chucks all these bodies at Ryu. Again, amazing art. You just can't get enough of his stuff. Too bad it's like quite hard to find. But at Japan Book Hunter, it actually does. I've seen Sean have a couple. So if you want to find that, look at his store. And again, even more of an onslaught by that demon lady, formerly Jesus. And a revelation at the end. So this is all the chaos. The revelation is that we have Ryu take off his mask, and he explains how he's the reincarnate, or he's the, how do I word this? He embodies the hopes of all future children. So he is the future, and he has the powers of all of that hope, uh, like amalgamating in him, centered in him. I don't know. But he does the very famous panel of splitting the statue, splitting the structure, and then going ahead to just split everything, including Earth. So this is such an insane last bit, and it keeps going because everyone now is out to hunt for Ryu. He fights against pretty much all the adults in the world. And because he's the embodiment of the future generation, the hopes of the future, he eradicates all of them so that Earth is now purified. It resets so humanity has a future. So that was such an insane read. One of my favorites of all time, just because of how crazy it is. So this was published in 1996. But yeah, Kazish, you've got to pick this up. There's nothing else like it, in my opinion. Like the amount of crazy things there are, having all of these random people pop up to fight Ryu is just absolutely insane. That was a really really fun read that I had recently. So let's just move on to the next read that I had. This one is on sort of the opposite side. It's not really fun. It's actually quite sad. But this is Minami's Lover by Shungiku Uchida, published in English by Fantagraphics. So this is the English version of the book. And Uchida serialized this series, Minami's Lover, in Garo. So this story, the premise of it is Minami, who is the guy, the high school boy in this story. His girlfriend, Chiyomi, has shrunk to a miniature size. So this is Minami, this is Chinomi, and Chiyomi, sorry. And the story is about them navigating this change. So at first there are, it's more of a well, it's not light-hearted, but it's just introducing us to that concept of his girlfriend being small, how they deal with a couple of different things. And so over the story, a lot of things do happen because there's a lot of doubt for both of them, especially for Minami, a lot of doubt about the future and how whether they can stay together, that sort of thing. And I mean, Minami is not a great person because he does some bad things, but this series is more of like just portraying honestly, or trying to portray an honest scenario in looking at how someone would think of a situation like this, where their partner has just transformed into something very tiny, and all the things you have to do to make sure the relationship is ongoing. He has to take care of her in pretty much every way. And so, without spoiling the story, because it does get quite sad later on, uh, it's a very. I wouldn't recommend this if you aren't looking for something that is like very, because we're following like them navigating the relationship. There's a lot of obstacles, and if you're not in the mood for just like a turbulent relationship, or all of the like being upset from all of these different issues that they have to face, and it's just very sad seeing how they go about it and all of that stuff, then I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're okay with that, and if you're okay for an emotional roller coaster, then um, go ahead and pick it up, because yeah, I would say as well that there is some sexual content in it. They are, high school students, but it doesn't get, in my opinion, it doesn't get too crazy. It's more of just how an honest depiction of how adolescents would think about those topics, stuff like that. And yeah, it does say for mature audiences as well. So this book is a hardcover, quite a good quality book as well. But yeah, I would recommend to pick this up if you are into that premise and you are ready for an emotional roller coaster. And of course, it's just great seeing another Garo mangaka being translated in English, especially with Uchida. She's of like the sort of later generation of Garo. I believe, is it like the 80s or the 90s, something like that. Here's just the back of the book, author, translation. Yeah, I'll put the dates of all the books in this video in the description. But yeah, that was Minami's Lover. Quite a emotional one. So now let's move to this very tiny book. Well, I wouldn't even call it a book. It's like a booklet. So this is actually like this is how tiny it is. Very thin, only a couple pages. This is an adaptation of Ryunosuke's, how do I pronounce it? Ryunosuke Akutagawa, and his short story titled Mikan, which is like, I guess, orange. And this is like a manga adaptation of it, but it's not just any normal manga. This is by Fujito Fujimiya, who does woodblock manga. So if I open this up over here, so this is like the original by Akutagawa and the woodblock manga adaptation by him. You can see that yes, it is definitely woodblock printings. So all of his manga, from what I've seen, he has like 2 other tankobon that he's made, are in this woodblock style. And so the story is it's a hard one to figure out for me. Like you can read the original short story translated online by Akutagawa, but it doesn't. It uses the same dialogue and uses the same prose, so it's not adding anything to the actual story. It's a visual and manga adaptation of that, and it pretty much follows like a man on a train who observes a woman who, I guess, is moving away, something like that, or is getting married. I'm not too entirely sure, but it's a very interesting style to have in manga. Very unique. I can't think of anyone else who's done woodblock manga like this, specifically because Fujito Fujimiya has serialized some stuff in ACT, so it's more of a, I mean, like closer to our contemporary period. So more of a, I wouldn't say recent, but 2000s, late 90s, that sort of thing. But yeah, this is just very interesting. So this is 2009. It's a very interesting little booklet to have, and I can show as well. Uh, I haven't read it yet, but I do have one of his other manga with me that is also woodblock as well. This one I haven't read yet, but I do want to read sometime. I forgot the name of this. Can't read it at the moment, but that's okay. So I'll just showcase what it actually looks like. His manga, amazing color page. And yes, here you go. You've got that same style, very distinct, of the woodblock printing. Seems to be about a man with a box on his head. But yeah, it's just a very interesting style to have in manga. When was this published? This was published in 2016. So yeah, more of a recent one. But Fujito, just a very interesting mangaka, and to have in terms of his books. So that was Mikan. I will put the link of like a English translation to the short story, the original one by Akutagawa, because you can, like, none of the dialogue is changed, the narration, the prose is kept the same, just adding on images to support the story. So yeah, that was another read that I had. What else do we have? I'll just go through this one briefly. This is like a doujinshi titled Taiga. If you've read Land of the Lustrous, it's like a fan fan story that follows the story of Land of the Lustrous. So it mainly looks at Foss and Shinsha. I forgot their Cinnabar, is that their name in English? Yeah. It mainly looks at like identity transformation. Because spoilers, if you haven't read Houseki no Kuni, Land of the Lustrous, you have this whole thing with Lapis and the idea of all of these inclusions messing up what Foss believes themselves to be in terms of who they are, because they've got all these different inclusions from different people, especially with Lapis being such a big part. They've got Lapis's head, and it's about that. It's about the trauma that they go throughout the series, and yeah, it's nothing really happens with the plot. There's not really a plot to this Dojinshi. It's more of just like a look at the character of Foss. So this is by an artist named Me, I believe. And it was published in 2019. So I don't really have too many of these Dojin works, but this one's a really cool one just because I love Land of the Lustrous, and I'm so sad and also happy that it ended because it's such an amazing series. Still surreal, feels surreal. I don't feel like it's ended. But yeah, I highly recommend Land of the Lustrous. It's an amazing series. The anime is really good as well by Studio Orange. Highly recommend that. And so the last book that we have is like a sort of picture book, I guess. It's called Aurora by Hisauchi Michio, who I have done a video of before on the channel. I did the Master Chicken video. So this one, yeah, is kind of like a picture book type of thing. It's mainly so the premise of it is like family conflict in royalty. So we have two families, the Liptons and the Brook Bonds. So this is a family tree. It does get pretty confusing because there's just so many of them. You've got the kids, you've got who betrays each other, blah blah blah. Pretty much to summarize it, it feels quite Shakespeare-like. If you think of the stories of like Hamlet or well, I haven't read King Lear, but think of Hamlet. All the betrayal, people striving for power, that sort of thing. Because we have two families, also set in a time where there are witches as well, and it's two families fighting over the crown. Initially, they were in conflict, but then that was solved through a marriage of two of their kin. But then what happens is that a witch gets in the way of things, I guess, when one of I think it was the Lipton son, he's married to the Brookbond daughter, but he still sees the witch in the forest. So a lot of different things happen. It's a lot of betrayal, suicides as well, a lot of infidelity. But to be honest, it wasn't like I didn't really like the story that much. It just felt like I don't like Shakespeare, and this work, when it's set, how it's structured, feels like that. I mean, if you like that, then this might be for you. But it is also very Google translatable because they're in big chunks of text. And also, I find the color very interesting. I'm not too sure if I like this color scheme of the yellow and blue and the very, how do I describe it, faded green as well. I do like the character designs of Isachi Michio, but as a story, it felt quite normal. There's like stuff about hidden daughters as well. Like Aurora is the name of the daughter of one of the Liptons, but she's also born to the witch, and it's like who's the father, that sort of thing. People keeping secrets from each other, assassinating each other. You've got magic being involved. Everyone's dying. No one's happy. Typical royalty like stories. And of course, ending where no one's happy. everyone's just dead, or if they're alive, then they've like, you know, they've committed so many murders and crimes. So this one was published in 1981. Of course, Hisauchi Michio, and this is just some other works by the same publisher. See, so Yamada Murasaki and all those people. Yeah, Aurora, quite an interesting one. I picked it up without knowing anything. I was like, oh, it looks like a picture book by Hisauchi Michio. Why not? So I'm like, After reading it, meh, it's all right. It's all right, but still an interesting one to have either way. But yeah, that was the end of today's recent reads, assorted reads video. Definitely very assorted. It's like nothing here really is the same. Everything is quite different. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll put all of the details of the dates as well when these were all published in the description, all of the info. Always just check the description. I usually just watch through the videos again and add in any notes that I missed, any corrections to things that I've said in the videos. But yeah, that'll be it for today's one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.